Now, today's event, as I repeat, is brought to you by the Social Spotlight podcast, and you can actually share your reviews and insights and follow the hashtag on the social media platforms. That is the Social Spotlight Pod hashtag Social Spotlight Pod. Now you can go on your X and you can actually put that hashtag in to send in your reviews and start a conversation about today. Let other people know, because we have to grow together. We have to put that money in circulation together. Not to waste time, just something brief about what today is about. Today is for you to gain knowledge on how to be more financially, on financial literacy. And we know that the world that we live in is based on how financially stable or financially you know how much you know about that. Now, today's podcast is definitely going to give you that insight. And I believe that one of the things that we want, even I want as an individual, is to be truly and truly financially independent. And whatever that looks like to you, it could look like 10 mansions, it could look like just a comfortable life, whatever that looks like to you. This is the spot for you to actually gain more knowledge and insight to get there. So I believe I'm standing in a room full of billionaires or millionaires, depending on who you want to be. And I am honored to be in this place. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the host for today. Are you guys ready for the host? Are you guys ready for the host? Yes. Now, the host for today is the founder and CEO of AdVibe Advertising. It is a dynamic communications agency based in Kampala, Uganda. And she also leads the podcast that has brought us here. That is the Social Spotlight podcast, which I've also had an honor to be part of as well, twice. It is a platform dedicated to amplifying diverse voices and exploring practical solutions to real-world challenges. Now, Vivien holds academic credentials in both Uganda Christian University and the Uganda Management Institute, where she built a strong foundation in leadership and strategic communication. She is a proud Rotarian with the Rotary Club of Muyinga Tankil, embodying the values of service, leadership, and community impact. She is a passionate leader, a friend to most in this room. I believe that's why most of us are in this room right now. She is a friend to us. She is also a mentor, an entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. She is deeply committed to using her voice and her platform to inspire and change and empower others. Now, the person I am talking about is the reason why we are here, because of her innovation and the need to impart knowledge and wisdom to the rest of us as she also grows. She usually says that I'm not a financial expert. I'm also here to learn and grow. She'll kill me for quoting her because I always do that. Let us welcome Miss Vivien Katusabe. Guys, let's give her a round of applause. I think I was giving a very low voice. Guys, let's give her a round and roaring round of applause to Miss Vivien Katusabe. Yes, looking very lovely, looking very beautiful as usual.
When you tell a Ugandan, make it at 4 p.m., that's like 2 hours. But, you beat all the traffic, you manage to reschedule. I'm truly honored that the team and I are happy that you're part of the early birds, yeah? I hope we have had a session of networking. Marianne, come back. We need to have a mini networking session. Guys, get up, all of us. Do you know your neighbor? Are you sure? Okay, let me come down here. Don't sit with people you know, guys. Don't. Just let's take a minute to greet everybody. Yeah, just your name. Hi, my name is so and so. This is what I do. Make new friends. Yeah.
Well, Vivien, I have an idea. Let them not do the basic greetings. Guys, listen up, listen up. Now, as you greet the person you're greeting, you should tell them one fun fact about you, one thing that you find interesting about yourself, because we're definitely going to find out those who didn't get to know. So as you greet the person, get to know their name. We can go back to our seats. And I will be coming to a few people because, as I said, you have to actually connect. You have to know people. So I'm just going to pick out a few people to let me know who they met in the room. Let me just start here, the edge here.
I met Rachel. I met I think, yeah.
Okay. What was interesting about Lillian?
She's jolly and hospitable because when I went to her, she was welcoming and ready to speak to me.
Okay. I see. People actually did this. All right. I also met a few people. And after this, apparently we're going to have walking lessons. They're going to teach me the beautiful misses. They're going to teach me how to walk. So if you find me, don't talk to me because I can now model. I'm now a model. All right. So right about now, I will hand over to Miss V, and she will take us over.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to dive right into our panel, and I'm going to introduce them. And I would request that when you're introducing them, a smile, give them some joy, some motivation, a moral support, what. Starting off, I'll begin with Moses Mubiru, who is a businessman, entrepreneur, and a business coach with specialty in business growth, leadership, and personal development. He's also founder, proprietor, and managing director of Price Media Limited. Might I add that they are the sponsors of those things you're seeing there, the videography and photography. Thank you. A communications and media production firm in Uganda. He also has interests in investment, crypto, real estate, and other businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our first panelist today, Mr. Moses Mubiru. Our second panelist today, ladies and gentlemen, is an award-winning financial risk advisor with a proven track record of excellence in financial investment planning, spanning over 10 years in the field. She holds a Master of Business Administration from Uganda Management Institute, a Bachelor of Arts in Social Sciences from Makerere University, and Certificate of Proficiency in Insurance from Insurance Institute of Uganda. She is a co-founder of Mind Heritage Limited, an organization that empowers minds to transform lives. She is also director at Two Stars International, a procurement firm, founder of Clear Path Medical Supplies, CEO Miss Chaos, I hope I pronounced that right, and founder of Cozy Residencies. Ladies and gentlemen, you now know where to spend your weekend, yeah? Vacations, whatnot. She is a Rotarian, and she has been an active member since 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our second panelist, Judith Kakuze. You are welcome. Just come and take the seat right next to Mr. Moses. Our third panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is a proud father and husband. That's quite a strong statement to begin with, yeah? Married to Mrs. Christine Nabosa Bujjingo. He went to Kampala Parent School for his primary school, where he was a library prefect, and then later joined SMAC, where he served as a timekeeper. These were the people who made our lives hard. You remember? When you're still enjoying and then you just hear ding, ding, ding. Now we know whom to come for, to haunt, yeah? He was rather French club president. I think we're about to learn some romantic words to use on you know who. Drama club president, house prefect, and then of course head prefect. He then moved to Makerere University Business School, where he pursued a Bachelor of Science in marketing degree, and graduated with a first-class honors. Guys, that deserves a round of applause. He also served as guild president of Makerere University Business School, where he sat at the school council to deliberate on student interests and concerns. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bujjingo then proceeded to pursue a professional course in marketing, the Chartered Institute of Marketing, CMI, from Uganda Management Institute. Oh, my OB. He then pursued a Master of Science in Marketing from Montpellier, I hope that is it, Montpellier Business School in France, and graduated with honors. He is a proud Rotarian and currently a past president of the Rotary Club of Kampala Chibuli. He is a lecturer of French and marketing at Makerere University Business School in the Faculty of Tourism, Hospitality and Languages. And he serves as the inaugural president of Uganda France Alumni Society. Guys, we are in the presence of royalty. Eh? A whole president. He works with Aloesha Organics, a 13-year-old manufacturing family business in the field of cosmetics and herbal pharmaceuticals, and serves as the managing director, a role he extremely is passionate about and looks to inspire many more young people and parents in family businesses with a mission to change the fate of family businesses in Uganda. He later, in 2020, established Dawn Swift Company Limited, a full-service business consultancy specializing in, of course, recruitment, training, and human capital development, jointly operated with his wife. Their focus lies in outsourcing top-tier talent for businesses, SMEs, corporate entities, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our third panelist, Mr. Bujjingo Don Patrick. And they say save the best for last. Ladies and gentlemen, our last panelist. He has 17 years of experience in branch operations. That's in the banking industry. Internal operations, agency banking and sales. He currently is the agency banking manager at Centenary Bank, who are one of our partners for this, with over 7,400 agents, 82 branches, 206 ATMs, and 3.2 million customers. The bank has existed for over 40 years and still counting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our last panelist, Mr. Ronald Kagimu. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for honoring our invitation and being here today. We are truly glad and we can't wait to learn from you today. I believe you all have microphones. Is that correct? Oh, perfect. Okay, starting on with Don Patrick Bujjingo. We have, over time, many of us are focused on, developing skills, education, and, emotional intelligence and adaptability. What does it mean to invest in human capital, and how does it impact your long-term career or even, business success? Because I believe many of us here are business people.
To be here, and thank you so much for making time for an event like this one. So I think in an era like this one, where we are pushing in an age towards something so digital, that we cannot help but have everybody on the digital platforms, it's important to invest in human capital because you're investing in an asset that has potential to grow over time. Now, you as an individual carry so much weight in terms of how you are perceived, in terms of how we see you, in terms of how you carry yourself as a brand. Today, we look at the likes of Centenary Bank, we see them as great brands, but you as an individual carry a brand within yourself that you actually have potential to grow beyond what your story could be, beyond what your history or your past could actually look like. So we are looking at human capital, and why we are saying investing in it is because there must be an intentional effort to make yourself better. You can't be comfortable. We are in an age where practice is beating talent, so you can't thrive and take pride in the fact that you're very talented at something. If somebody's working harder than you in the room, they're going to be able to beat you tomorrow. So, beat you at a game that you thought you were actually very, very best at as an individual. So when you look at human capital and why we think this is a resource that needs to be invested in, even if you're looking at organizations or companies, I'm happy to see our keynote speaker, Mr. Ochichi, in the room. Thank you so much for being here, sir. A person like him has made efforts in investing in human capital. When you look at the team at Enterprise Uganda, it's important because you know you're driving a mission and an organization. But forget what buildings are, nice-looking premises and so on. That's not what makes companies. The human resource is what makes the company. And when we are recruiting at Don Swift, what we have really realized is that every other employer is looking out for the best possible personnel that they can hire. And from experience, I've now seen it. Employers are really looking for how good you are academically or name it. There's just something intangible, something about yourself, that uniqueness that you walk into a room and you can be felt. How you talk, how you present yourself, how you identify as an individual is how much you've invested yourself in regards to human capital. So it's okay to eat nice, it's okay to do all the things you enjoy, but don't forget to invest in yourself. That's a unique asset that could have a multiplier effect 10 years from now if you've been critical about how well you invest in you as a person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bujjingo. That's a very brilliant response. You spoke about something about, how you present yourself, and then it got me thinking about, self-awareness, talent mapping, and of course, goal-driven learning. In your opinion, how can a young person, or even, anybody here, identify what their brand is, how to grow their unique strength, and how can they stand out in the very competitive market that we have in this Uganda, given our current economy?
Okay, so I think it's close to sinful. If you know so much about the world, so much about science, IT, and so many things, and you know nothing or close to nothing about yourself. One of the biggest challenges and the tasks that you have in your lifetime is to actually discover yourself. So I have said this before, that we live in a world of close to 8 billion people. And for the entire time the world has existed and for the time it will ever exist, there will never be anybody like you. So that should help you remember that you're a very unique being who will only exist once in a lifetime. There will never be another you. So there must be something so unique about yourself to really help us highlight the fact that you're a very unique person. Now, what is really more important is not just to find your uniqueness, but also to find your strength. And finding your strength is not just finding the things you're really good at, but the things that actually make you stand out. Now, when you find those things, you harness those things, and you actually grow those things. In 2024, I got the privilege to attend the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and I was placed at Rutgers University. We had a test called the Clifton Strengths Test that helped us to really track on a number of different factors or strengths or abilities to help you identify what you are actually best at. You could run your entire life struggling to be something. You simply think because your brother is good at it, you think it's a DNA issue. No, it isn't. You're so unique. But you need to be able to discover what you're good at. So that test, the Clifton Strength Test, you can check it out online, really helped us to look at and identify what we are best at. And from that angle, you look at the things that you already have an edge over other people and try to be able to improve them. And you don't have to actually select one per se, but you can look at 3 things that their combination makes you remarkable, makes you unique, makes you incredible, makes you unbeatable. So that's what we'll really look at. And pay attention to what people tell you. The challenge is that we live in a world where some of us are very afraid of even complimenting people. If somebody is great at what they do, please make an effort and tell them. Now, you have a responsibility to listen to what the world is telling you. Not just to listen to what you're good at, but even if somebody told you you're not good at something, it's also good to listen to that. Not that you should take it, but listen and find out why. So every other time you've been complimented for something you're good at, I think you need to be able to take note of that, harness that, and see how you can use that, because there are things that come so easy to you that people are spending nights either reading about or trying to practice to be better at. So yet for you have something naturally, but you're yet to discover. So my task and challenge to you as I end in this submission is that we are going to school to study all these things about the world, but there's no school that is teaching you about you. You are the school, you are the teacher, and you are the student about you. So please take time and go to class.
Maybe to digress a little bit, he is handling the topic human capital development and personal branding. I would like that you take some notes, and in case you have any questions, then you can pass them on later. And also the rest of the panelists, in case you have any comments too, that you can feel free to, proceed. Mr. Bujjingo, first of all, congratulations on attending the Mandela Washington. Did you know I applied and got rejected many years ago? And then I never got courage to go
There's
back.
going to be another call in September. And please, when you see that call happening or being pushed out online, please apply. They're looking for young people below the age of 35 doing any great thing in your sphere. So please.
All right, thank you. Earlier on in your submission, you hinted a lot about how you present yourself as a person. And for many of us here, we think about, when you talk of course, personal branding, I'm thinking visibility, I'm thinking, of course, reputation, authenticity, and career positioning. Maybe could you break it down for us in a layman's understanding? What is personal branding and why is it even important in today's, digital and professional world?
I think I'll just borrow the words of Richard Branson, who says, personal branding is everything and anything that people can say about you in a room where you are not. So that people can say if they mentioned your name when you are not there, whatever they can say about you is your personal brand. How people see you, how you identify as an individual, and thank you for bringing out the concept of visibility. Do you realize that we are in an age where visibility today is actually proving credibility? People who are pushing to be as visible as possible and showing up for whatever they are driving, an agenda, a message, they are turning up as those that actually are the stakeholders or those that carry that kind of credibility. So you as an individual, your personal brand should be anything and everything. Do you realize that your personal brand, the Queens will tell you, could actually be how you walk? That's an identity. So if you are pushing a certain identity as a person who is responsible, of course how you walk matters. You don't just walk by pushing your legs forward. It's also has to be intentional because people are seeing you. And guess what? Everything you're doing about your life, you're writing a story. And do you realize people are watching? So many people might be looking up to you. Some may never come to tell you. Some may never even ever have a word with you to let you know. But the world is watching. So we have a task to ensure that our brand really represents everything we want to show to the world. And today, with that digital era, that brand has been split. Because there is the you that we have here in the room, then there is the brand that is online. So many of us are on X, LinkedIn, It's okay to like funny things, but you can't keep sharing every funny thing. Otherwise, we'll take you for a comedian, So it's everything you are seen as and everything you actually are in person. So in the digital era, personal branding has been split. There is that brand that we have in the room today, and there is the digital brand. So even how you appear online, the things you put on your statuses, the things you put on your DP or your profile pictures, that's who you are. We will take you for who you are, what you retweet, what you share, how you comment, and each and everything we see on the online platforms. The reason as to why that's actually very valid is because we look at profiles of people online that we have never met, we've never seen, are not even in this country, and you hit the button, follow. You follow them. What are you following then if that's not a brand? That person has represented something you are a fan of, so you would like to go in that direction. So the ask is that let the brand be represented in each and every single thing that you do. That's a task for you to develop that personal brand. And why I called it an asset, recently we held celebrations for the Nelson Mandela International Day on the 18th of July. And I was sharing with my wife in the audience. By the way, she's here. I would like her to wave. Christine, yes. So I was sharing with our teams that one of my biggest lessons out of doing that event was that people are rarely giving money to causes. People are giving money to people. You might be pushing the same agenda or the same message or the same concept that I'm pushing, but one of us is going to get more attention because of that fact. People are giving money to people, not causes. So how you really show up is so important. That's an asset in itself. That's an asset in itself. And the problem is it takes so long to build and seconds to rapture.
Thank you. Hi, Christine. Thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to recognize the presence of our keynote speaker, Mr. Ochichi Charles. Thank you so much for being here. As we close on this aspect of human capital and personal branding, we have seen instances where there is a conflict between, let me refer to people like maybe the artists, yeah, musicians, etc. We have seen instances where there is a conflict between who you are and probably what you need to put out there, especially online, and the communication that you mentioned, that what you put out there, it represents your brand and all that. And of course, value delivery and brand integrity. So for me, it would get me thinking, because I'm equally on a journey of building, the Social Spotlight podcast brand, how can my team and I and everybody here who is interested in building their personal brands, even their businesses, consistently build their brands and while staying true to their personal values and professional goals, because at some point I feel like there's that conflict between your personal values and what probably your organization or people around you believe in.
Yes, thank you. So, like I said, in the digital era, consistency is value. Yeah, people will look at what you drive in a consistent manner, and I think there are pages you've also visited or people you've seen, and because of that there is something you see that you're interested in. Now, the only reason you're able to see that is because they are being consistent in that thing. In a world where I don't know what's the life expectancy of Uganda as a country for the men?
I think it's currently 65.
65, yeah. And remember, that's for...
Really? 70? Since when? Oh.
According to the last census. Thank you for that statistic. So what's interesting is that statistic is not just for... It's not for Ugandans. It's for whoever is in Uganda. That statistic can change if you're in the UK. If you're in the US or name it. But the idea is that in a world where we are living for that number of years, you can only do so much. So choose something and be consistent at that. Choose something and be consistent at that. The challenge of you conflicting with your personal brand, I would not really recommend that somebody runs under a brand or a company whose values don't align with their personal values. I think it's a waste of time. You're really, really doing something that's going to just drag you behind. And the idea is that it becomes so easy when your personal values align with the brand or a company that you're trying to work with. It becomes so seamless because you're pushing something that you can own. When you speak diligently. And guess what? It's very, very hard to hide identity or who you are or character as a person. Somebody said character is like a pregnancy. You can't hide it for longer than 9 months. So the idea is that people will still find out who you are, even if at work you pretend to be this person, then outside work you're another person. Someday you're going to be the other person at work, and trust me, you just can't hide it. We shall still know who you are. So be consistent with who you are and give us a chance to know who you are as a person.
Thank you so much, Don. I will take on the next speaker, and then we can have reactions to after her. Let me balance it a bit, gender sensitivity and all that. Hi, Judith. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Judith will be. I can't wait to learn from you, particularly because you're engaging in a topic that particularly excites me. Ladies and gentlemen, Judith is handling the topic, investment portfolio management for new income earners. Okay, some of us may not be new income earners, but there is always something to learn, yeah? And Judith, just to start you off, we have, in what is, for me and everybody here, what is investment portfolio and why should I, build one as a new income earner?
Thank you, Vivien. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by thanking you all for coming here. I was telling Diana there that I like it when I see young people going for such lessons. Because we all know, like he said, we need to invest in ourselves. We go to school, our parents send us to school, you finish university, you get a bank job, you're earning 1.5 million shillings, but no one teaches you how to manage money. Is there a class that you had in school that taught you how to manage money? So you get out there and you start wasting your money. So it's important for you to attend such classes. I think most of us here could be new income earners, So what's portfolio management? This is basically building and caring for your money. I'll equate it to a farmer who is going to focus on fruits. A farmer who wants to be successful will not wake up and grow only mangoes. You know why? What happens if pests come and attack the mangoes? Are you going to remain with anything? A farmer who wants to be successful will diversify. They will have mangoes, they will have oranges, they will have avocados and other fruits, depending on what they can afford to take care of. So this means that you're going to spread your risk across different products. So you're going to spread your risk. Should the mangoes be attacked by pests, you still have the oranges, you still have the avocados, you still have others to look at. And even when you're planting these fruits, you're going to look at fruits that will give you results that will yield in the short term. That means that take a shorter period to yield. Then you'll have fruits that are mid-term. Then you'll have the long term. You will also look at fruits that are not easily attacked by pests, that do not easily die out. That is risk management. We all have different risk appetites. So when it comes to investment options, we have, for example, people who want to go for the products or investment options that will yield so much in a very short time, but they can also be high risk. So you have to know, what is my risk appetite? Can I take on this? But as you're going for the high-risk products, do you have enough money to take such risks? It's very important for you to risk money that you can lose and not die. We've seen people who invest, they lose money and collapse, and they are burying the person. So when you're taking up these investment decisions, you have to know, look at the money you have and what you can invest in. So basically, investment portfolio management is about you building and caring for your investments. In this example of our fruits, when you plant fruits, you're going to water them, you're going to nurture them, and then as you're doing this, you're also monitoring them to learn which ones are going to yield faster, which ones give me more returns. So as time goes on, you're able to weed out the ones that you do not need. So the next season, you will know that maybe oranges did not perform well for me, so I'll drop those, and then you identify what you can focus on. So that is how I would break it down into simple terms.
Thank you so much. That's quite a brilliant response. There is a culture that is not very popular, especially amongst the millennials, which is budgeting, yeah? And also the emergency fund. You'll find that, have you ever been there and then you're sick or you haven't, but then your account is not accounting very well, yeah? And yet these are situations we can actually avoid, yeah? So there's always that question of should I have an emergency fund vis-a-vis investing, and then also there's that whole question of I do not have enough to invest. And of course, also setting realistic goals, given, that we live in this country, you know what is going on, yeah? Economy is tough, like so much going on. But also, that would take me to my next question. How much of our incomes should we actually allocate to investments, and how do we balance, with how do we balance with that, with investment with your short-term needs?
A budget is very important. I keep telling people, if you do not have a personal budget, you're in a danger zone. Many of us spend carelessly. You've seen cases where someone is asking, I had 200,000 in my wallet, where did it go? That is because you do not budget. You're spending money that you did not budget to spend. We are in that age group where we have peer pressure. You're going to be at work on a Friday, and your friend will tell you, let's go to this bar and hang out. Did you plan to? Because there's a cost that comes with that. There's peer pressure. Someone has an iPhone 16, the iPhone 17 comes out, and they want to change their phone simply because the people around them are moving with the trend. But you see, Vivien could be having someone who is giving her money or buying for her the phone. And then me, Judith, I do not have someone giving me. So I'll end up using my money to buy a phone which I did not budget for. We have cases where people go to banks to get loans to buy a new car that they do not need. But simply as Ugandans, we like driving new number plates. So you have your U80, it is functioning very well, but the current number plate is UBQ, let me say. So you go to a bank, get a loan to buy a new car. You're going to start paying interest on this loan. But is this car making money? You're driving it to work, parking it, and then driving back home. It is not generating any income for you. So budgeting is very important, and you might not be able to do the budget yourself, but find people who are professionals at this, and they guide you. If you're a Christian who believes in tithing, you know that 10% of my salary will go to that. After that, what do I pay myself as Judith? Because if I'm earning this 1.5 million shillings per month, it is not my money. There's rent, which belongs to the landlord. If I have a young brother or sister I'm paying for the school fees, we are Africans. We have people to take care of. Sometimes you have to send money to your parents. That is not your money. So do not look at the 1.5 as your money as Judith. My money is the percentage that I pay myself. And the best thing you can do is you're the first beneficiary of this money. So when you get your 1.5, get off your 20%, depending on how much you're earning. I've seen people who save up to 50%. You find someone and she tells you, I'm earning 10 million shillings, but I don't need all of it. I need only 3 million shillings a month. That is someone who knows their monthly expenses. So take off your 20% in this particular example and pay yourself. You put it aside. So by the time you're distributing this money to the landlord, to fuel, to judge and who, you have paid yourself. And that is my motivation to keep working every day because I am able to pay myself. So that is what I would emphasize. Let's have budgets that we work with. Let's not just spend for the sake of spending. I've been to a bar and you see someone swiping a credit card to pay a bill in a bar. Why are you paying for alcohol using money that's not yours? And you know we live in an era where money is accessible. Today I was checking my phone and I got a notification from ABSA. You can click here and get 2.5 million shillings instantly. There's no money that is not enough. You talked about people saying that I do not have enough money to save. Money will never be enough. Even someone earning 20 million shillings per month is still looking for more money. Because the more you earn, the more your expenses go up. When you're earning 1.5 million shillings, you're renting a house of 400,000. When your income goes up, you move. If you've been driving a small car, now you want to upgrade. So you realize that your lifestyle also changes. So you will want more money. That means that you have to start with the things like investments is a must, regardless of how much you're earning. You have to put aside money. I've seen ladies working in people's homes, house helps. They save, they buy land, they build houses in their villages according to their capacity. So if someone like that can save and buy land, I met someone who bought land worth 4 million shillings. So if she can save money and buy land, what about you who is here? What stops you from saving and investing? There's nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. You mentioned something earlier that really piqued my interest. The gentleman who sadly, lost money. And I know you've been in the insurance industry for quite a while. It got me thinking that he is not the only person actually who has been either, should I call it ignorance, or is it inadequate information from the insurance provider? Because I believe some people from the audience as well have experienced that. You get a policy, you realize it's also over time, just to digress a bit, sorry, I've realized that insurance has not been fully appreciated by Ugandans. Why do you think that is the issue? And is it that we are just ignorant? And given the example you mentioned, yeah?
Yes, thank you. Insurance has not been appreciated for two reasons. One, there was lack of knowledge. And then now when we started getting this knowledge, like I mentioned earlier, someone walks to your office. This is a salesperson who just wants to close a sale. So they might not give you all the information. And then you'll make that decision. And then when you lose money, you'll go back and start telling people. There's a time I saw a TikTok that went viral, and the lady was saying, insurance companies babite basasula. That is totally wrong. But now remember, there's someone out there who is going to believe her and actually close out insurance policies. That is not true, which brings me to the next point that you said, ignorance, and we don't like reading. This information is there. Life insurance policies are very good, but you have to understand what you're getting into. And I keep telling people, I meet so many who have lost money, but it is your responsibility. If Vivien came to your office and sold you a life insurance policy, if she's not a very good, consistent salesperson, she will not continue the journey. A very good salesperson will continue. If you know what it means to be successful, you know the advantages of referrals and repeat business, but some of them focus on this sale and will stop there. But now you who took out this product, when Vivien came, you did not get into a contract with Vivien. You got into a contract with UAP Old Mutual. The information is on the internet. The head office is here in Nakawa. Have you taken the trouble to walk there and tell them I have this policy, I do not know what is going on? We have now online banking. Monitor your account. If you set up a standing order, am I remitting premiums on a monthly? But you meet people and they tell you money was not being picked from my bank account. If I know that money was not being picked on my bank account, what did I do about it? As the life insured, who is interested in the product, who understood the benefits of the product. If I notice that money is not going off my bank account, what have I done? Am I going to sit back and wait for 5 years to elapse, and then I start saying, you people didn't pick money from my bank account? It is possible for me to even send the money from my account to the insurance company. So this is why people keep going around. If you take note of the reasons they give, it will come down to the same thing. They did not meet their end of the bargain. This is a risk product. The insurance company is taking a risk on your life. You're going to pay 2-3 premiums, a border knocks you, you're dead, and they start paying a lot of money to your family that you didn't pay. So it's also important that you meet your end of the bargain. If you've said, I'm going to pay 500,000 per month, you have to be committed to that. And as the life insured, I will know I have this contract with Old Mutual, but in May, they didn't pick the money, and June, and I'll take the trouble to find out why this money did not go off. I cannot just sit back and then wait at the end to complain. And then the other thing is what I told you, we don't read. We get contract documents. The day they give it to you, you keep it in your house without even opening it. You can even keep a contract that doesn't have your name, that has another person's name, because you didn't check. And then you wait at the end of the 5 years, you bring a contract that you do not even understand. But if you take that trouble, there's nothing that's not in that contract. I've met smart people who tell you, give me my contract, I'm taking it to my lawyer to go through it before I sign it to show that I am now accepting it. So we also need to be very responsible.
Thank you. While you were emphasizing due diligence, in my head I'm thinking, does this lady know that we farm on the phone? You just be there in your comfort zone and you're calling, oh, by the other gods, okay. So thank you. I think that was quite elaborative and brilliant. We personally, let me not categorize everybody. During one of those very many instances when I was making research, and there's so much that you find out online. I don't know if young people are just very angry, or we are bored or what. But I was looking at, practical ways to spread small capital across things like, like bonds, stocks. I'm hoping you'll expound more because personally for me, that's something that I've really not understood a lot yet. Circles and of course scale investment. Which drives me to my question is, how can I diversify my portfolio with limited income?
So like I said, depending on how much you're working with, now we have limited income. I mentioned unit trusts. Those are good. You can invest as low as 100,000, and then they are flexible. You can keep topping up as and when, and they're open-ended. You can exit anytime. Bonds are very good, but they are long-term. So you can invest in bonds. If, for example, you took out a 10-year bond, the beauty is you will know. If it's at 16%, you will know that I'll be able to get this much from the bonds. And then you'll be able to get your interest is paid periodically. So you get coupons every 6 months. So you know, depending on how much you're investing, how much you're going to get. So they are very clear. You know, I'm investing this much and I'm going to be earning this much. And at the end of the 10 years, so you know. And now Ugandans, there's a lot of information, like you said. And now, especially now, we are going to the period where very good bonds are going to come out with very good rates for obvious reasons, yes. You talked about circles. Circles and investment clubs are also a very good way to save your money. These days, investment clubs have diversified. They even lend money to their members at very, very low rates. I've interacted with clubs that lend to members up to 1%. So instead of you going to a money lender, I think the lowest rate you can get from a money lender in Uganda is 10%. You can borrow your own money from the investment club. Usually they don't even ask you for security because your savings is the security. So they have their policies depending on the club. If you've saved up to 5 million, you can borrow up to that. So it can help you start another investment. Maybe in commodities, you live in a busy area and you want to put up a small retail shop, you're able to borrow. There's power in numbers, saving in groups. So I would encourage people to go for those investment clubs. I've seen people do amazing things. Earlier in the morning, I met a group, an investment club. They've just bought an acre of land. And it was very expensive, but they shared with me their journey. They started by saving 200,000 shillings per member per month, and then they went on growing. You know, they've been together for years. These are things that they would not have done as individuals. There are only 8 members, so if they've bought an acre, that means each member has a plot in a prime area of Sonde. But imagine, you know the thing with money, if you do not save it, you will still spend it. If he started saving his 500,000 per month and I do not, at the end of 1 year, he will have his money and I'll keep asking myself, where did that money go? So investment clubs are good, circles are good, they are very good ways of saving. Now, especially when we just started earning, these are things we can start with: saving, circles, investment clubs, the unit trusts, and then you can diversify like that, yes. Because if you've just started earning, you might not be able to go into cash instruments like fixed deposits. Those need people who have, you know. But a unit trust, you can go in. Circles and investment clubs, you can go in. You just have to have a lot of discipline and be very careful the club that you join. And also be smart. I met an investment club where the person they chose as the treasurer disappeared with their money. And I was asking them, why were you depositing money on an individual's bank account, as if you're not educated? When you come together as a club, registering an investment club is very easy. You're not going to be taxed. Imagine they told me they thought they would have to pay taxes. You're not in the business of making money, so no one is going to tax investment clubs. So be very smart, have systems in place, register the investment club, have a bank account for it where you have 3, 4 signatories so that there's accountability and monitor your money. And then you can put it on a unit trust where it keeps growing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Judith. Mentioned an investment club. How about we start one that's called the Social Spotlight, and we are all members? I will now pass on the mantle to everybody on this other side in case you have comments, to our first two panelists, comments, questions, additions, and everything in between. Faith, if you could come and help move the microphone. I've seen 2 hands up.
There are a lot of people from the diaspora I deal with, and they wanted to know how they can invest their money from abroad. Because when you're working abroad, the money that you have, you want to invest it. But a lot of people that I've been dealing with, I work in foreign affairs, and a lot of people try to invest with their family, and the family members eat the money. So if you're talking about unit trusts and bonds, which companies do you recommend that I can also tell them so that they can invest their money securely?
Thank you for that question. I would request that when you're asking, please tell us your name, your workplace, or what you do, so that we're here to network and make new friends, right?
Okay, sorry, please. I apologize. My name is Mash Kategaya, Ministry of...
People go abroad and work and send their relatives money to buy land and build for them. And when they come here, they find nothing. So it's really, really terrible. You've seen stories on social media. About the companies that I would recommend, that is so dependent on what someone wants. I will be sharing our contacts. At Mind Heritage, what we do is we interact with the client and find out their needs and what they are able to do, and then we take them to the particular company that has the product that is suitable for them. That's what we do at Mind Heritage. So maybe we'll share our contacts. My business partner is here, Dr. Gardner. He can get the contacts or share the contacts so that we can interact with those who are interested and find out. We have different needs. And these people being in the diaspora, they do not understand which products would be suitable. So that you can reach out to us.
My questions are to the lady. Interestingly, So the first question, what do you think the most viable option was you and you were going to choose? What do you think is the most viable option and why? Secondly, do we really need to diversify? I've heard a lot about diversify, we can do bonds, bills, we can do this and that. But realistically, we spend a lot more than we earn, and we need to invest our money somewhere. And some of these things are long term, 20s, 30s, you need money to parent, do so many things. So you don't really have as much money to spread around, and you need it to come back so that you can keep life moving. Most of us are running businesses. We just started with peanut money. So do we really need to diversify? What is the age that we are supposed to follow so that we can put money somewhere where it can come back and then we can get it without hassle? The last one is kindly rate social entrepreneurship for me vis-a-vis other forms of businesses. I understand there are so many. I am a social entrepreneur, but sometimes it's a bit disturbing. Although I love to serve society and money, there's also the need to deal with other businesses. So do you think we should really take as much in the entrepreneurship side, or we can actually focus more depending on the investment climate in your perspective as an expert?
I mentioned someone who's growing mangoes, oranges, avocados, and all this. The beauty of having all these different fruits is if my mangoes are attacked by pests and they all die, I still have the oranges, I still have the avocados. So what this means is I'm spreading risk, because risk is there. You cannot say that there's no risk. Risk is there, but I have to spread the risk. When she was introducing me, you had Mind Heritage, I am Kakuze Residences, I am Miss Chaos, I'm Clear Path Medical Supplies, I'm 2 Stars. These are all my different investments. So that if Clear Path is not working here, Mind Heritage is working. So I will not fail to meet my basic needs because this side is not working. So it's basically about spreading risks. And that's why I mentioned that with time, you start monitoring your investments and you see that the mangoes are not working for me. So I'll drop those ones completely, and I'll not go back to them. So now you realize the investments that are giving you the money that you want. Then you focus on those ones. So we are people who are just starting out to earn. When we start, you don't have to go into so many. No, depending on what you're earning, you can choose 3, 2, and study those and monitor. Like the farmer who has the different fruits. But I will not remain with only one, because that's not risk management. That means I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. What happens if COVID came? There are some businesses which were badly affected. Do you realize that people in the food business did not lose money during COVID? Do you realize that that's the time when Safe Border made the most money? And that's when they went into deliveries. Because we were home and we kept ordering for food, we kept ordering for this, and that's when they made money. So you also have to be very, very intentional when you're diversifying. That's why we have the different investment options. It's basically diversifying and mitigating risk. And then you should know and be ready to change in your business. For example, Safe Border. They studied the market. You know, before when we had these usual borders, if Mr. Ochichi went there to a border man and said Kampala Road, they will look at him and see that he has money. They will say 20,000 shillings. Then me, Judith, I'll go to the same border man. Then he'll say, this one doesn't have money. Nkumi biri. Are you seeing that? So for them, they saw that, and they came. Safe Border is Safe Border. Whether you have money or you don't have money, it's a fixed price. And they took over the market. When COVID came, they quickly introduced this other side of the delivery. That wasn't there. So as an investor, you also have to be sharp. Know when to move money, know where to go, know what risk you can manage. I'll give you an example. Many of us ladies have a tendency of staying in your office and then you open a boutique. You've not studied the market, but simply because Vivien told you, my friend is making a lot of money in a boutique, you open the boutique. You do not even have time. You go to the bank, you borrow 50 million shillings, you put it in the shop. You get a girl who you're paying 300,000 shillings per month to manage your 50 million, and you're not there. She doesn't know your dream. She doesn't know why you started the business. She doesn't know your market, so she will not even know how to talk to them. You've gone to shops where you walk in and the girl remains on her phone. She looks at you once and she goes back to her phone. It's not her business. At the end of the month, she'll get 300,000. So you start operating in losses, but you're paying back a loan. That is now a wrong investment. So we don't just wake up and do investments because other people are doing it. He has told me Aloesha is making money. I also say now I can do this. I don't understand it. So it's important for you to understand the business. As Aisha, what do you love? Are you able to monitor this business? Or are you going to open a shop there and you go in once a month? Many gentlemen start mobile money businesses. They don't monitor. They don't have books of accounts. He just calls the girl in the evening and says, Okoze yo meka, put it on my phone. They put it on your mobile money. You take a girl out, you spend it, and at the end of the month, there's no money. And you go to the shop and the girl says, but boss, you kept asking me to send you the money. You don't have books of accounts. So there's a lot involved when we are starting to diversify our investments. So it also comes down to me as a person. We've seen now a lot of people making money from marketing on social media. People are closing shops and cutting out rent. I'll have my things in a garage at home or in one of my rooms at home, and people order online and I deliver. I'm cutting down on costs. But are you able to run an online business? Or are you the kind of person who is going to open an Instagram page for your business and you check it once a month? Orders come through and you miss them. You're shouting at your clients. You've not trained the border guy that you're sending to deliver the things to your clients. He delivers the client, he's abusing them. Before you know it, they are calling you again to order. Why? You've not trained him. You cannot just pick him off the road, and that's what we do. We don't invest in the people who are for us. Remember, for you, you're in office, you're very busy. But like he said, empower your people, educate them, give them all these lessons, because at the end of the day, they are representing you. They are representing your brand. Whether it's a boda man, if I order from Aloesha and the boda man brings my products, for me, I'm looking at him as Aloesha. If he abuses me, it is what? Aloesha. So we have to be very intentional, but diversification of investments is very important because one, it helps you understand the investment options as you choose what you're going to settle with. Two, which is also very important, risk management. If this investment goes down, someone talked about cryptocurrencies. If it goes down, you know that I have other options at least that can mitigate this side, that can support this side.
My question goes to Mr. Bujjingo about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. Lately, I've been following a fellow, Miss Charity. She attended for this year, and I was wondering what are the entry requirements? Is there like an age limit? Kind of those things, those questions I've been asking myself.
My question goes to Mr. Bujjingo. In the age of social media, how can one become successful and break out without getting so much on social media? Because I've realized that sometimes as you get in there, it sort of becomes a job. I like to use the example of LinkedIn. Every time I open LinkedIn, it feels so plastic, like I'm excited to announce I've gotten this. Okay, that's their path, but I've also realized that people are now lying, people are forced to make up stories. I've gotten all these big certificates and everything, as opposed to the raw authenticity that I would show, for example, in this space. I'm forced to lie on LinkedIn and Instagram and tweet and compose things that are non-existent. So for someone who wants to still make it and break out, minus that showing up on social media, how can they build their brand? How can people start get to know them? How can someone break out without really actively doing that and doing my brand physically on ground, for example, in such spaces? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We should be honest, not everyone is comfortable to put themselves before a camera and maybe say something, speak, I don't know, to the public or go live on social media. Recently, we've been discussing that at Dawn Swift about the need to do maybe some TikTok lives and, you know, and not everybody is very comfortable being in the face of that bit. But remember that today, people are following ideas, people are following trends, people are following like solutions. So you could actually choose to write, but write consistently about something. Provide solutions consistently about something. If that platform is for people that are reading, because you know that different social media platforms are pushing different kinds of content. You know what's running on TikTok, yeah? You can't pride in being a very good writer and you say, you know, I run this very good TikTok account and I publish my articles there. Unless you're voicing them, then your TikTok will not thrive. So if you're doing your writing and maybe you're running through LinkedIn or you have a blog, you can be consistent there. And sometimes people may never know who you are. There's a gentleman called Dr. Love. I don't know if any of you has met Dr. Love. He's been writing in the papers for so long. And recently I found out we belong in the similar BNI chapters. And he's running a new brand called Ant Porridge. And he's now doing business in another line. But my idea is that you do not have to put yourself there. And even when you're trying to grow yourself through a brand in social media, please remember that you yourself, it's important to remain authentic and true to yourself. If you're tired of the posting and the pressure, it's okay to first take a break and pause, because you matter most. You are the one running the other account. The account should not run you. So it becomes a problem. I know it's tasking. I've talked to one of my close friends in business, Miss Brenda Sekabembe, Bake For Me Limited. If you look at her TikTok account, it has helped her grow her business. But you can see it takes a toll, it takes effort, it takes so much time. But you know, you need to realize that you can then be able to take a break. So that's my biggest recommendation. Depending on the platform, you can choose one that doesn't require you to show face or whatever. And be authentic, by the way. People will really buy into something that's authentic. Like I said, you can't fake something for so long. We can't congratulate you over everything and you dig in your certificate. Very soon you say, oh, today I woke up. I would like to announce that I woke up. I mean, what are you announcing? So it will be too much of announcing things that don't really matter. But be authentic. And I think for me, where I can ask you to zero down on is something that you think matters to you and the message that you'd like to talk about. You read as much as you can about that concept and write articles. Share them when people respond. I'm telling you, there's, like I told you, consistency is value. Someday, sometime, somebody's going to notice that consistency and it will make value for you. The problem is today we are going in for that very, very quick success. So people are in a dire need to go viral. So people are doing anything random, anything silly to go viral so that their accounts can grow. Please don't be that kind of person. The
Thank you.
the Baganda say bugu bugu. Simulino. But just respond to her question about the MWF. So what happens is this is a flagship exchange program of the US government, started in 2014 by Barack Obama. They're looking at young people leading in different ways. We all don't lead by saying, I don't know, LC chairman or whatever, titles of the sort. We lead in unique ways. It could be in business, civic leadership, public engagement. So in your line where you lead, this fellowship gives you an opportunity to be part of it, where you go to the US, trained under university, meet mentors, and the idea is to help you be better in terms of what you're doing. So when the call is out, the only prerequisite is for you to be impacting somewhere, somehow. That's all. You don't even attach documents, pictures, links, nothing. It's just a write-up. So they'll read your application and see if you qualify. So I'm sure by being the first runners-up where you are, there's something you're pushing. There's a drive, there's a message, there's a cause you want to make impact upon. And really doing that. If you can tell that story in written form, then you'll be selected. So
Thank
I'll
you,
be happy to help.
Mr. Bujjingo. I'm going to request that we finalize with the two panelists, then we ask all our questions later. Is that fair? Are we liking it so far? I'm glad we are. Receive. Mr. Moses Mubiru, for those who came in later, is the MD of Price Media, and he's going to handle the topic business/entrepreneurship management in today's world. I know most of us are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, right? Okay. Moses, how are you today? Feeling good? I'm glad. What, some of the core skills and mindset essentials for running a successful business in today's fast-changing environment? Because today, I might be selling chicken wings in a certain way, and tomorrow, all of a sudden, Ugandans decide they don't like it.
Yeah, I know. It's a pleasure being here. First of all, it's my pleasure being here. I love the conversation so far, and making a lot of mental notes because I'm good at that. And I hope everyone is learning here. And again, thank you so much, V, for putting together this entire thing. This is evidence enough that Ugandans are thinking. Who knew that at such a point like this, we'll be gathering in this place and speaking about things that are not necessarily school, but things that are deep. And I love the authenticity of the conversation. And when listening to almost every person here, there is a lot of depth that is coming from a place of what? From a place of personal knowledge, from a place of experience. But back to your question, in regards to the mindsets and the key business skills that you should have in running a business, I'm going to share. There are quite a lot, but I'm going to share that which stands out for me. Number one, the concept of self-leadership. That's the hardest of all. Self-leadership is the number one key thing that you should have in yourself if you're going to build a business. Why I'm saying that it is too hard is that when you are lucky, when you are fortunate enough to start a company and the company begins to grow from one person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the unfortunate thing about you being fortunate in starting that is that the bad thing about leadership is that sometimes as a leader you're accountable to none. So if you don't have very good self-leadership in you as an individual, you're born to fail. You know, the values that you think are going to build your business, the values that you want to see. in your team, if you do not embody those values, you're definitely going to fail, you know? So number one key thing, number one key skill that you need to have is that skill of mastering the art of self-leadership. You know, simple things like planning, having an agenda, having a plan, having a dream. I mean, stopping to live an unstructured life. I was having a conversation the other day with someone that as a leader, you don't have a right to sit and watch series up to like 4 p.m. in the night if you know that you have a meeting tomorrow, because you're going to show up and you're going to be weak, you're going to be fatigued, you're not going to understand anything. You have to be so strict. You know, the reason why you hated the boss in the place where you worked is that the boss held you accountable. You understand? So because no one is going to hold you accountable, stop showing up like a nuisance. Stop showing up unprepared. Stop showing up with low energy. And the unfortunate thing is that you're the boss of yourself. So self-leadership is critical. If there is one thing that I would leave with everyone, is go check out your schedule. Do you have a plan? Or you start your day like a cow? Understand? You start your day like, today I'm moving, like, starting your day and you're like a piece of paper where the wind blows you, you go, you know? When the taxman calls, you go to taxes. When the HR calls, you go to HR. When marketing calls, you go to... Then when the other guys tell you to come for BNI, you just... Like, what is the plan? Do you have anything written? So if you know here that you're running a business, and let me tell you one thing, I have high respect for business owners because I have a different revelation and interpretation of what a business is. When you start a business, you're starting a tool that God is going to use to transform lives. If it wasn't because someone started a business, probably my mom and my dad couldn't have an income that would have given me an opportunity to study. So when you start a business, just know you're not doing your things. You're not hustling. You're not doing your small stuff. You're doing something that has potential of affecting generations, touching lives and stuff like that. So if it is your business, like one of my friends loves telling me that, man, it's not your business, it's God's idea in your hands. You're basically a steward. So rule number one, if you want to see a little bit of sense in your business, it's going to be self-leadership. Skill number two you need to have is, again, under leadership, but I call it exemplary leadership. There is a coach friend of mine who likes saying things like, "Manke see, manke do." You understand? Over time, like one of the panelists here was talking about the fact that you need to wake up and study you're going to start taking his words so serious, and you're going to start reading, and then you're going to know that there is a secret about coming to office early, you know? Surprisingly, the man, the keynote speaker of today, Charles Ochichi, when I look at him, the only thing I remember, he may not remember, 2013, that gentleman gives me an appointment for 6 a.m. And I ask him, like, did you say 6 p.m.? He said 6 a.m. And I'm like, crazy. I was at his office at 5:45, seated there for like 5 minutes, and the guy passes. Like, "Moses, follow me." I like, it's that crazy. So if you know that as you're doing your self-leadership, self-study, becoming better, if you know that the concept of coming to work early is important, stop commanding. Can you demonstrate it? You get? Some of those boys and girls you're employing, they're not bad, but you're the mighty guy in the team. You get? You're the mighty guy. You're the employer. You're the boss. So they are going to embody that which you demonstrate. So number two, very complex, that bit of exemplary leadership. If you notice, it's flowing back to what one of the guys here talked about, the thing of people. You understand? You know, the difference between a business owner and a hustler is that a business owner owns the machine that makes the money, but the machine is run by people. So the greatest mistake you're going to do as a business owner is to start working in that machine all the day. Like, you started a business, but you're still a freelancer. You started a business, but you're still a hustler. You're still doing A, B, C, D. You get my point? So if you do not embody aspects of exemplary leadership, show people, and now you're studying about yourself, you think that these things are needed, so you need to work on yourself, because the next aspect is what? Is people. So my key skill that I want to highlight again to you is the art of people management. You know? Okay, let me say, dealing with people, straight from understanding who you're hiring, you know? Then next to things like productivity, to things like accountability, to things like close supervision. You understand? So the other skill that you need to have is you need to know how to handle people, how to identify them, how to raise them, how to hire them, how to build them, how to position them to do the things that you want to do. Essentially, you need to perfect the skill of using people. And again, I'm very intentional about the words of using people, not using your hands. You get? Use them well, equip them to deliver the results, and take another position. Until you reach that point of taking the bird's eye view of your business, you're not yet in business. Bird's eye view is when you step out of your business and you're watching the HRA, you're watching the accounts, you're watching your money, you're watching the marketing, you're watching da-da-da-da. You get my point? So until you secure that spot where you're the man that watches and sees things work. But the problem that people like me faced for so years is that we started passionate business. You know, I worked in the advertising for close to 13 years. So we started speaking things like, I'm a creative, I'm a copywriter, the baddest copywriter in city, blah, 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 blah. So every time you saw like a billboard you wrote, you're like happy. Every time you see the advert you wrote, you're like happy. So we start similar businesses, and then we still want that glory, forgetting that, bro, you're not an employee. You're not on a mission of becoming a copywriter. You're on a mission to run a business. So you no longer shouldn't be doing things. You're supposed to be managing things, dreaming and establishing things. So that's the same thing that I would want to ask you to do. You know, when you're starting, yes, start small. Yes, that is okay. But try to be more intentional about growing. You understand? So third most important skill that you should have for you to see a thriving business is when you learn to work with people, when you learn to raise them, when you learn to identify them, when you learn to work on your business. You know, those are my top three. You know, essentially the basics. Why I didn't start with the basics is that in my years of experience, I've noticed that because I'm a marketing guy. I've noticed that sometimes I'm eating your money, trying to fix your marketing, but you just have problems with your structures. You have problems with your product. You're forcing people to buy the things that they're not interested in, and then you bring that money to me, like Moses, help me market, help me sell, blah, 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 blah. So that's why I started with those core things. That's the bit of the leadership, the bit of people management. But now, back to the basics, the few skills that you need to have are basically things like finance, knowing your figures. You get? Again, as a business owner, you don't have to know it all, but you have to know a little bit about everything so that God blesses you and then you get a perfect fit in there. A person that can help you understand your figures well. But the reason why you need to know something, you just don't want another Ugandan to take advantage of you. I was watching another story from a dear friend of mine, and the longest serving employee was the one who was bringing the heaviest leakage. He was stealing a lot of money because this guy who was longest serving, you know, he knew what this guy didn't know. It had to take him a little bit of self-discovery and learning to know his finances, to know where the money was going. So the thing is, another core skill, I feel like it's basic, but it's not very that basic. You need to be good with numbers. You need to do literally everything what she told you. You understand? As a business owner, sometimes we have retainer clients paying us monthly, but the truth of the matter is that we make money like 3 times in a year. There are those gigantic deals that come. When that money comes, are you a good steward of that money? Are you investing it well? So you need to be good with money. You need to be good with numbers, you know? So there are other skills that you need to have, elementaries like marketing, advertising, and have very good value, you know. But crossing over to the part where V talks about the mindset, the greatest mindset that you should have as an entrepreneur is more of the growth mindset. You understand? You started a business, you started a path that you probably don't know how it's going to go. So your secret is going to be on having a growth mindset. Like growth is all about consuming knowledge and putting it in yourself and making it work for you. So the greatest mindset that you should have is that growth mindset, that whatever challenge that is going to come to you, you're going to figure it out. Whatever challenge that is, whatever thing is going to be hard. I've seen scenarios where as an entrepreneur, management fails and the team runs. If you have that growth mindset, you know? Second mindset is more of that mental resilience. You understand? That's why I don't believe that entrepreneurship is for everyone. That's why there are many people that I tell that if you're not sure, don't get into this thing. This is a thing for people that are mentally ready, people that are mentally strong, people that are mentally ready to confront anything. Because you start a company not knowing that at one point you're going to need an administration department, and at one point you're going to need like a money, finances department and stuff like that. You start a company not knowing that you need sales and marketing, and you're so poor in those areas, so it is extremely very easy for you to fail. But if you have that mindset of a warrior, that mindset of resilience, that mindset of, you know, that wishful thinking, you know, those fantasies, like you think yourself highly that it's going to work, and it works. Every time you register a failure, it is okay, you fail, but you're rising up. So in terms of mindset, you can Google this stuff, but my two is you have to have that growth mindset, because the growth mindset is the reason why the company is going to multiply. The growth mindset is the reason why you're going to diversify and diversify well. The growth mindset is the reason why you're going to even hire yourself out of the company. You get my point? You can be a business owner and you have a very great heart that you can hire this girl because she looks nice. You can hire this guy because he's your tribe mate. You can hire this person because he impressed you. If you notice that you just have a big heart and your big heart is kicking out the what? The business, you're going to be so malicious. You're going to even hire yourself out of the business and put another person who has a proper rationale and just deal with him. Let him deal with the mental decisions. So mindset, the growth mindset, the resilience mindset, that heart of fighting, you know, that heart of self-belief. Because when you're grinding alone. Literally, no one is seeing you. She's asking things like LinkedIn, you'll be there, and then this one has just got a promotion here, then this one here, then this one. So for you, when you look at that lens of social media, you start comparing. Over me, the things I'm doing, they're working out. Oh, let's try TikTok. Then you do your TikTok and you're speaking so slow and you're like, oh, wow, what? Then the other one brings on Instagram stories. Then they're like, you get my point. So it's like a lonely path and you're judging yourself. You understand? So until you have that mindset of, you know what? You do your things, I'm doing my things. You know. So for now, I would literally stop at that. But those are just a few things that I would want to share. The rest of the things, ChatGPT.
You mentioned something about that triggered me, because I felt like at some point I was a business owner who was a hustler. You know how you're a business owner, you're the CEO, you're the social media person, you're the finance person, you're the cleaner. You attacking us, you're shaking tables. I'm sure some tables were shaken here as well, right? And also, lastly, guys, don't wake up like a pepper tomorrow. Don't wake up like a cow. Interesting insights. You spoke about, you briefly spoke about financing, and it got me thinking, what role does, financial discipline play in entrepreneurship, and how can it be cultivated? Because I know many of us entrepreneurs have experienced it at one point where you do not know there's a very thin line between business money and your personal money, and once it either crosses any side, you're like, oh, but I'm the owner, I'll pay myself later, That's how do you have that financial discipline where you clearly demarcate business money has to grow the business and my personal money Yeah.
Now, step number one is to recognize that money is a problem, because it has been a problem for years. You understand? That is why for a long while I was opening up to my mentor that the number one fear, that the number one problem I get when I get a lot of money is having this thing: how am I using this to further my business? How can I multiply this? Because once money comes, money has a habit of like lying to you that it is too much and exciting you, and then all of a sudden you're misusing the money. So the first step is in you recognizing that money is money is just a problem that has a solution already. So when it comes to financial discipline, my go-to thing is one thing. Like all your money needs to have all your money needs to have an assignment. You understand? So when the money comes, just get to know where you are. Someone talked about budgeting, but even talking about budgeting, think about the dream. Where do you want to go? I run a media business that I had to make a few sacrifices, and the money is too much, but the price of a camera is like a price of a small car. You understand? So, and then all of a sudden you're seeing the pain of investing in a small camera that you can't even defend. You can't tell people that entire thing there is about 18 million. You understand? But you have to, until you construct a dream, you get. So as a business owner, you have to have like a roadmap. If you're so intentional, like these guys are telling you about self-discovery, that you make a few notes, have a plan, have a written dream down that this is where I see myself in the next 5 years. This is where I see myself in the next 1 year. This is what I would want to have. When you know where you need to go, the big money you're getting in the early days will not excite you. Because every big money that is going to come, you're going to know what to do. Every big money because you're seeing your life in steps. If it is clear, if the trajectory of your business has been mapped out to you in form of step, ladder 1, ladder 2, ladder 3, ladder 4, and you know very well that you're still at 3, but you still have about 9 steps, this 500 million is not going to tempt you. This $10,000 won't tempt you because man, this man has come, but now it's going to push me to ladder 4. This man has come. You get my point? So there is a meme that has been going around that colleagues, money will come. You get? So it is okay, colleagues, money will come, For now, let us look at these ladders. You understand? Until you reach at that level, or 9, on the 9th level, that's when you're going to take yourself for a holiday in Dubai. That's when you're going to spend some money somewhere. But the best people, the people who make their money well, they are not only the people that have a budget, but they are the people that have a dream. Because you could actually have a budget, but you have no dream. I know a guy, good enough, I won't mention his name. He got 2 deals that literally pissed me off in the way he spent the money. The Pope comes to Uganda, and this guy gets a contract of like 250 million. And then the first thing he does was to rent an apartment for 3 years, and he takes his girlfriend to Dubai for 2 months. You understand? And then the money was 0. He gets another similar contract with Toro Kingdom. It was about 150 million. He does the same thing. Then after the money is done, he comes back to us, the peers, for what? For advice and regret. You understand? And you're like, man, you're still young. This money has come to you and it has been misused. But the difference is that he had a proper budget, But a budget for a trip, the dream was what? So the dream was weak. You get? The dream was weak, Like every day I've been seeing people driving such and such a car. Now it has come, and I have a guy who is fascinated with a big Benz with what? With a big star in front. It's like, man, when I get money, this is what I want. I need this. You get my point? But if you have a dream and your things are step 1, step 2, step 3, and you have a clear awareness that you're still on step 3, just to know all the money you're getting now is to take you to there until you reach that. What these guys are telling us, emergency fund, like in COVID situation, can you still pay your team and do not close? The guys who had plans like that, we've been challenged that you have to have reserve that you can literally pay for your team like monthly for like 2 years or even a year. You get, so that whether things work out, whether they do not work out, the guys are still reporting to work and the guys are still getting their salary and you're moving. But the mistake we do, yes, you think it was personal, personal finance. There is also, I think I'm going to force a word and call it our business finance, that you need also have that discipline. You have an emergency fund as a business. Because remember, a business is a legal entity. For you, you're just a normal human being. So you having your salary saved for 6 months, it's another thing because you're an entrepreneur. You get my point? So you're depending on the business as a primary source of income, but as the money comes in, do you have the discipline of having a budget? Like a budget for the whole year, a budget for equipment, a budget for HR, a budget for whatever. You understand? A budget for the basics that you need. You get? So when it comes to financial discipline from a place of a business, from a place of a business owner, a business leader, it's all about having a bigger dream, a well-articulated dream, that any monies that you're getting when you're still in your early stages does not excite you to blow it out of proportion. That's my take for now.
Thank you, Moses. I remembered the story of an entrepreneur. She runs an international school, and coincidentally, she was, unlike the rest of us, she had earlier taken on an insurance policy through. Is an unit trust an insurance policy? Oh, okay. She had taken out a unit trust. I don't know what its term does, and during the entire COVID period, they did not feel it because now whatever they had saved over time was now financing, and they were able to keep afloat. And I think these are, very realistic conversations, that we can all adapt in our different businesses.
Maybe I can also give you an example, which will also respond to what Aisha asked. I also know a gentleman. He has so many apartments, and then he has a big unit trust. He's a bit old, so he has amassed his wealth. I had a conversation with him, and during COVID, none of the tenants was paying rent. For obvious reasons, people were not working. But his trust fund paid him monthly interest of up to 13 million shillings per month, consistently. So you see, Aisha, why it's important to have different investments. One investment, that's the real estate side, which is a good business, at that particular time, faced that risk and was not paying him. So imagine if he had put all his money in that one business. Would he be surviving? Would his children be able to continue with school? No. But he had diversified. So he had this other investment, which was not affected by COVID at all. It actually grew, I think, so much during COVID because people were home, they put in a lot of money. So he consistently earned his interest while his principal was there.
Thank you for sharing that. And as we close on the segment on entrepreneurship, I know for small businesses like Advibe Advertising and of course the Social Spotlight podcast, there has been a proven research that most businesses, small businesses in Uganda, do not live to see their 5th birthday. And because of obvious reasons, which include, of course, funding, competition. We are in the same economy with the big boys, the Mandelas of this world. And you just can't afford to compete with such people, And, of course, customer acquisition. We are in an industry where you find yourself with 1,000 other people doing the same service. And regulation, before you know it, there are different taxes that you find along the way. Given all these challenges that startups face right now, how would you advise us, me and other people here who run businesses, to learn to adapt and so that we live to see more than our 5th birthday?
Okay, my key thing here that really works with me that I would personally recommend to anyone is try your level best to narrow down. Because one of the reasons why businesses die is the shiny object syndrome. Now, the shiny object syndrome is a type of disease that always affects people who are entrepreneurs. Like they have all these amazing dreams. Whatever, we can do this, we can do this. When I get this money, I can invest it in Airbnb, then I can do this, then da-da-da-da. So the business is still young, but you are trapped with so many ideas, you know? That takes me to the other analogy that I normally use in my circles, like loving the side chick at the expense of the main chick. Like the main chick, the wife, has built you, has done everything, then you start stealing from the main chick and you're pushing it to the side chick. So what happens is that your business is the main chick. Your business is the main wife. Like he has been with you, she has seen you in all times, and da-da-da. Now it is beginning to come up, then you're trying out manufacturing, you're trying out a bakery. Moses comes and tells you, now there is this thing called crypto. It works like this, and then you put some money in crypto. Then another guy tells you Forex, you put it there. Then another one, coffee. And at the end of the day, you're being constrained. You wake up to reality that you're in 1 year arrears in regards to rent. Your company converted into an academy that people there work there for so many years, salaries don't change, so they leave you at the end of the day eventually. Even those ones eventually leave you, and then you're alone, and then you're closing. So the key thing I'll tell you is one thing. If you know that you're still running a small business, first be comfortable with the fact that it is small and respect its smallness. You get my point? And handle it small. Do not make so many hires. Do not bring in more products that are going to require you to hire more, but keep the small entity well, you know? There is a myth that I've heard. For me, it's a myth that we've all been given 24 hours. It's a lie. When you're a business owner and you hire 10 people, if you run a 24-hour day, for you have 240 hours per day. So as a steward who is the business owner, how you steward those 240 hours? Okay, let me say we work from 8 to 5, those are about 8 hours. 10 employees, that is 8 times 10, that is 80 hours. You have 80 what? 80 hours. How you steward those hours? You get my point? So if you're still running a small business, do not aspire to be big. When you have like one product, make sure the product serves you well, that it grows and it enables you to open another what? Another product. I love the way school owners built schools years ago, that they start with nursery and then run it for 1 year, and by the end of that 1 year, the same students who are in nursery now go to P2. 7 years later, this madam understands that for him or for her, did not have the finances to hire teachers for 7 classes, and he decided to walk a 7-year journey, you know? Every day, small and like little by little. But the mistake we are doing as small business owner, we want to run a 7-year journey in basically 1 year. And then at the end of the day, you're stressed. I forgot to tell you about something that I'm getting a little bit mad about, which is the wellness, like personal wellness as an entrepreneur. You get my point? Because these errors you're making, they're putting a lot of unnecessary tensions. That's why you're seeing some of our friends go, and then they jump. One of my guys just jumped from a building there and died. You saw it in papers. You get my point? Too much unnecessary stress. You get my point? That all of a sudden you're waking up and things are not making meaning. You get? So if you want to survive your first 5 years and you do not close, please make sure that when you're running a small business, run it like a small business. Have a budget. Don't over-expand, you know? Allow the process. Pick a few lessons from the school founders. Take little by little, you know? Because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, when you strategically, when you calculatively calculate your moves, you're going to survive. So these things to do with funding, you know, I come from, I have an employment history. I worked in the diplomatic world for some time, and I'm in Brussels, and then this lady comes and shares a thing that kind of broke my heart. Like, these guys who are giving us funding, they are benchmarking on what Africans are thinking. So they are collecting us and giving us whatever amounts of money we compete, and then you get my point. Sometimes as a business owner, your idea does not stand an award. You understand? It's not an app, it's not what, it's not, you get my point. Like, you're starting a business that you care about, you're not starting a fundable business. So what if it happens that your business is not fundable? Like, the funders have certain types of businesses they're interested in. Do not try to found a business according to their interests. Found a business that is in line with your what? With your interests, a business that you will run even in the bad days. You get my point? So these things have to do with funding. I mean, when you're lucky to secure funding, to get a grant, that is nice. But if you're not lucky to get funding, just know a lot of these big-time entrepreneurs you're seeing around, they started with zero funding. They were on the building block by block. They hit a profit, they used the profit well. That is the basic and the hardest way of funding. Then I've seen businesses that started with funding and painfully closing after 2 years. Not going to mention an example, but there's another one that just started with a lot of funding. And I specifically know how that money was used. You get my point? So sometimes the money that you've not sweated for, you do not have the moral character to steward that money. So better if you know that if you're lucky and you can get a grant, you can get a venture capitalist, you can get someone to fund you, please use that money well. But if you're unlucky like so many of us, make sure that you allocate your profits well, reinvest in the business, deny yourself of the fancy things that you may want. Like, live that kind of sacrificial life in the interest of this thing, you know? And what I've seen, that businesses have a habit of surprising you after 10 years. So if you know that your business is under 10 years, have peace. You get my point, all will be well. You get? So do not rush for anything above 10 years. When, they just have a habit of surprising you after 10. So after 5, you're successful, but after 10 and above, bro, you're getting better. You get my point? Okay, that's it from me for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That has been quite something, yeah? After this panel session, we're going to have a break, and then also we shall break down the audience into 4 categories. So for the mentor-mentee session. As we close, now that we have learned how to invest, we have also, started a business. You have learned how to brand your business. Now let's dive into, how to bank this money, and if need be, borrow for your business venture to grow. In the last panel session, we usher in, for those who came late, Mr. Ronald Kagimu, who is an agent banking manager at Centenary Bank, one of our partners for this event. Thank you so much, and the entire team at Centenary Bank, for standing with us to make our dream come true. And he's going to engage us on banking and credit finance. This is an amazing session. Don't you all agree? Mr. Kagimu, to start right in, what is, the role of a bank in managing personal and business finances, looking in the aspect, right from savings, payments, loans, financial planning support, etc.
Thank you very much, Viv. The conversations have been very, very deep. Very deep, not plastic. She's missed plastic. She mentioned something about LinkedIn being plastic. They have been deep, they have been authentic. I don't know whether you guys in the audience are feeling the way I'm feeling, but I've really been touched by all of you. There's a lot that has been shared. But going back to the theme, and before I go to Viv's question, I must say, so much has changed, especially in line with the theme. I don't know whether some of you are able to relate to what banking was 30 years ago, especially in this country. The customers used to chase the banks. Now, the banks are chasing the customers. The customers had time to chase and be in the bank. We had people who would say, today is a bank day. Don't disturb me, I'm going to the bank. And they spend the whole day there. Today's customer is fast moving, especially relating to what the three panelists have actually been sharing. So banking today is very, very unique, and in the sense that as financial institutions in general, we need now to find the customer. From all fronts, customers are on phone, mobile banking, customers are in the comfort of their offices, internet banking, customers are at the grassroots, agent banking, and of course customers are supposed to be in the banking halls, but they are no longer coming. So, and of course now we also have now the technology that has disrupted everything in a good way. So as financial institutions, we must be able to adapt, and of course most of these institutions are adapting. Now, going back to your question, Viv, what do banks do? Banks in the economy are called financial intermediaries. We are connecting the surplus spenders to the deficit spenders. You have many people in the economy who have money and possibly they don't know what to do with it, though I don't agree with that statement. I'll validate that. Then you also have other people who have many dreams. They want to do so much, but the finances are not enough. So we bring these people together to have a conversation. The ones who have a lot of money, we take their deposits. The ones who don't have, we lend. That is why when we come to you and we have lent you money and we come aggressively to recover that money, please forgive us, because that money is not ours. It is the depositor's what? Money. And when the depositor comes for his money on his current account, for instance, you're not going to tell him, you see, I lent it to so-and-so, I lent it to Judith, let me first call Judith to... No. Because banking is about trust. You bring my money, you bring your money, I'm supposed to keep it for you. When I want it, I'm supposed to give it to you. So that is the dynamics of what? Of banking. And of course the details are in the types of accounts, the savings accounts, the current accounts, the fixed deposit accounts, etc., etc. But the principle is we link the two parties, and the principle is trust. Once the customer suspects that their money is not safe, word will move around and all the rest will now what? Come. And when they come, then you'll have liquidity what? Kind of issues. So going back to your question, Viv, banking actually links those two people, and when we link those two categories, then we are able to drive now the economy. That is why in all our economies, banks are very important players, because we facilitate business. And when we facilitate business, then there is economic growth. People are able to pay taxes, money eventually comes, as the gentleman says, and so many things happen. So we are very, very important players. But of course, what is also very interesting right now is that banking has changed so much, so much, and we definitely have to adapt. There are risks, and definitely I'll also be sharing along those lines. One of us was actually mentioning, got an alert of 2.5. You can borrow this unsecured on the phone. You just press 1, 2, 3 buttons and you get the money. What happens if you're not ready for that credit? What about the money lending apps on the market. I believe that we might even have some loan sharks who are digital. So much is actually happening. But all of us on the bank side, we have to be alert. And even the customers, we also have to be alert that much as we have come close to you, we have made the services as accessible as possible, you also need to have the self-discipline the three panelists have actually talked about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You mentioned something about, getting money from one person and moving to the other. Allow me combine two questions into one. It got me thinking, have you ever borrowed from mobile money? And then they keep reminding you, your due date, your due date. And then, do you know those are some of the hardest loans to pay? I don't know why. You have the money actually, but you can't just choose until they start threatening to send you CRB details somewhere. And it gets me thinking, how does credit actually work? And what factors determine whether I qualify for a loan? And secondly, what are some of the risks of taking loans, and how do you borrow responsibly to avoid debt traps and interest rates and all those other things that come with these repayment plans and the loan purpose? Because you may get a loan to actually build your business, and by the time you get it, you're excited. You see a car going, I'm like, in that moment, you don't even know how you end up in the bond. So, yeah.
Okay. Before, and the good thing is that you're going to forgive me. Sometimes I go off because the conversation is very interesting. I want to share, before I get to your question, I want to share with you mobile lending. We all know right now in the market that we are using the national ID. The national identification number is now your financial card number. So it does not stop at I have a national ID, but at the same time it's a credit check. So if you borrow from Mobile Money and you don't pay, the details they are sending to CRB will also affect your credit rating in the bank. So it's now an entire ecosystem. So it means that you guys who have been borrowing and you throw away the SIM card and you get another one, eventually the NIN is going to catch up with you. Those ones who don't have national IDs, thinking that they are not necessary, you will need them. So you see how fast, indeed, I've loved the theme. Things are moving. Some 10 years ago when national IDs came, we said, nah, I don't think this is going to be important. But now, the national ID is important. It's affecting your driving permit. It is affecting your passport. It is affecting your credit rating. Now, you are sharing a story about... Yeah, someone is going to validate that at some point. Okay, now you can see. Now, so it is that serious. But I wanted to relate with your experience. Have you ever borrowed from mobile money? I think mobile money is not so bad. Have you ever borrowed from a money lending app? It is a disaster. The interest rate is so high. The days for the loan, because it's purely unsecured, are few. If you borrow for 7 days, they start demanding the money on the 6th day. And they can call you and say all sorts of words I can't say here. To have peace, you just pay the money and get off. In fact, they call it the dark web of lending. MTN and Airtel and possibly other players, I believe they are civil. They'll send you an SMS, they'll do this, they'll even give you a repayment plan. If you've failed, you can give this, you can, and that is good, really. But the other guys, they don't want to know. And after harassing you, they'll also go to your phone book and call everyone. Do you know Viv? She has failed to pay. They'll send SMSs, my friend. So it is not very easy. So these things are actually real. But going back to your question, how how do I qualify for credit? And I'm just going to share the traditional learning, leave alone the apps. The traditional learning is that we're going to look at if it is business. How long has the business existed? Are you starting up? Unfortunately, from a financial institution's perspective, we don't normally lend to startups for the reasons I've given. We have depositors' money. We don't want to risk with your dream. So normally banks are not really sources of finance for startups. Because for us, we want to find you along the journey and we give you working capital, a push. But these dreams and what we don't finance because the risks of losing that money is high and we don't want to risk that. So the type of business or source of income, if you're not a business person, you are an employee, do you have a steady flow of income coming in? We want to be sure that when we give you money, that income can be able to pay. Then the other thing, again, we are going to look at, again, another aspect of security. But of course, security comes in last. And it is really last thing. That's why sometimes people misunderstand us and say, these banks, they just want to steal and take our things. We are not in the business of trading your property. We're in the business of money. So the security comes in as if a last or fallback position. In fact, in some cases of foreclosure, we could even tell the client that, you know what, there is this security, can you go and sell it? And then you pay, and then we get out of it. So those are the aspects that we will actually look at. And then, of course, for income, again, we're going to look at what is your debt service ratio. That if, for instance, you have this steady flow of income, if you pay our loan, are you able to survive? And on average, it's about 40 to 50%. So you don't want someone, you don't want to give someone money and all of it, all their income goes onto the loan. How will they survive? Let us be real. So we look at all those aspects. Now, of course, and then, of course, lastly, the credit rating. The credit rating is actually very, very important. Are you a triple A? Are you an A? Are you a triple B? Are you a B? We use those ratings to assess the risk. And of course, this is also related to a very common question they ask us, the banks, that why are the interest rates so high? One of the reasons is that the credit risk is high. We are not very sure that when we lend to you, you will pay back. So the reasons why possibly in Africa our interest rates are high, of course there could be other reasons as well, but one of them is credit risk, because we don't pay. It is very easy to run away than paying back. So all those actually affect. Now the risks, of course, would be in case, of course, of default. Of course, you'd lose your property and a few others. Of course, the risks are not so many. The good things are better, actually. And for me, I'm a salesman, I'll sell to you guys. Banking is good because we facilitate you in one way or another, especially if the business is already what? Existing. If it is personal, we want to give you money, again, to facilitate your growth, because we are aware that money is never enough, ladies and gentlemen. So where money is not enough, sometimes you need to come to us, the bankers, to give you some good finance, and we push you, and then we go. I want to mention one thing, and it's still related to our theme, that so much has happened in the industry that we are not able to do things alone. There is a lot of collaboration. We work with different partners. You'll see us working with the telecoms. You get money off your account, you send it to the wallet sends it back. In fact, even right now, you realize that now even banks are working with telecoms directly to do lending. Yes. So the money that you're actually getting on MTN and Airtel, there's a bank behind. There's a relationship. And the kind of partnership we have in that case is that the telecom person possibly does not have all that finance, but they have the customers. The bank has the money, but they don't have the customers. So you come into that kind of arrangement. For us in Centenary, there's something we want to work with Airtel and I think New Grid, that kind of partnership. New Grid is doing for us the credit scoring. Airtel is giving us the customers. And then, of course, the bank is bringing the money. But of course, at the end of it all, whatever money we bring in this relationship has to be recovered. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was quite informative. You spoke about ratings. All I heard was A, B. I'm sure there are other people who are wondering what that means as well. Could you elaborate more on what those ratings mean actually for a lay person like myself?
Okay, now these ratings are supposed to help us in assessing credit risk. That if I give you a triple A, you're a low risk, and it will influence my decision to lend you a certain amount of money. If your rating is, let's say, triple B, and possibly we classify you as high risk, maybe I will not lend you, or probably I'll say, because you're high risk, give me this amount of security. Because you're low risk, I can give you this. So those kind of ratings actually are very, very important. And ladies and gentlemen, without going into the complicated stuff, a thing as simple as paying your loan on time is affecting your rating. And as I mentioned, those who just buy a card, you borrow and you throw away the card, you're affecting your rating as high risk because you're being flagged. I remember even before we got onto the NIN, when we still had the financial card number, even us who used to work in the bank, when you go to get a loan, they first run a credit report. A summary of all the loans you've got, how many, do you have any arrears, how have you been paying, if you've not been paying, how many days, worst days. So someone who is actually assessing you looks at this report, says, I don't qualify. Now that's the manual in the bank. Now, of course, with technology, they are using that. They're looking at the NIN and they're saying, okay, Airtel, MTN, maybe Mango Cash, online, you know, he has not been paying. And that is why when you actually, it actually affects even your limits on the phone, for instance. You realize that MTN is giving you 30K for 1 year. You're always at 30K. Your limit is 30K. Why? Maybe you're high risk. You know? So it is very, very important that the risk rating is very important, that even us at individual level, without actually going into the triple A's and the triple B's and the B's and the A's, have a clean record. In advanced economies, people are borrowing based on their credit rating. No security. Your rating is your security. In Africa here, your security has to be physical, because we are not yet quite there. But maybe eventually we shall eventually get there. Thank you.
Thank you. When you mentioned running away, sorry to digress a bit, it reminded me of a story I heard over the news one day where somebody was collecting money from people who were meant to travel abroad, and he had accumulated, I think, over up to a tune of 1 billion. And one day he just woke up and decided, this is my time to now be a billionaire, and relocated to another country. So I think those are the kind of risks that banks stay away from. In your CV, you mentioned, I read something about you being an agent banking manager. Maybe for entrepreneurs here who may want to adventure into that space of agent banking, could you give us a little more information about agent banking? How does it work from an entrepreneur's perspective?
Okay. Thank you very much. I like that. I don't know how you read my mind. because it is something that we sell. As I mentioned, that banking has changed so much. So you realize that using the brick and mortar, the branches, you might not reach each and every person. I'll give you an example. Centenary Bank, we think that in this market we have the largest network of about 82 branches. But trust me, they are not enough. We think that Uganda is a very small country until you start traveling around by road. That's how interesting these things are. When you're on the map on Google, you think, Uganda is a very small country. Compare it to Tanzania, Congo and all, that's a very small country. But when you start moving, you realize that Uganda is big and realize that there are so many people out there that do not have access to financial services. And again, as salespeople, we're busy saying, I have this account, I have this account. But someone is traveling 10 kilometers, 15, 30 kilometers to come and save with you. What is the motivation? What are you selling that is very special? Hajat there is shaking her head. Nothing. Not even interest. So we have to think more and actually get to these customers. And that is why you find that other establishments like circles and they are very common because now they are closer to the grassroots. And that is how agent banking comes in. We are partnering with people who are closer to that customer. They become a bank agent. They are able to do a few transactions that we tell them as the principal: cash deposit, cash withdraw, bill payments, school fees, URA, etc., etc. To get that customer, to save that customer, that hassle of coming to you. And for me, there are places that stand out in this country. Landing sites. Someone at a landing site in Kalangala. Probably for us, we think Kalangala is one main island. There are also other little islands you connect. How will that person possibly access a Centenary branch in Masaka? Someone is in Mutukula. How will they access a Centenary bank in Chotera, for instance? So those are the questions. Someone is in Ngoma. Ngoma is in Nakaseke district, in the middle there. How will they access a Centenary branch in Woblenzi? You know, Ngoma is near where the army people actually train from. So it's deep in there. So that's how agent banking comes in, that you look at businesses that are able, and of course for us we are looking at a business that has had an existence of about 6 months. You give us your bank statement for us to see your financial capability. Of course, since you're a business, you have to be registered. You should have business registration documents. You should be liquid, as evidenced by the financial bit of it. And we take you on. Of course, the initial investment would think that possibly you could probably invest about 1.8 million shillings for the gadget, and then a minimum float of 10 million shillings for the start if you're in an urban center, or 5 million shillings if you're in the rural center. But that is starting capital, because the demand now will determine where you are and customers are there. You'll find that that float again is not enough, and of course would now encourage you again to get more capital. And for us, we are the financiers again, so you can still come to us and we give you an overdraft or a loan, and then you drive the business. But agent banking has worked so much for us, because currently at Centenary we have about 8,000 agents in addition to the branches. So it means that for us, we don't look at them as agents, we look at them as little branches to support the customer. And those 8,000 agents are contributing 51% of total bank transactions. So it means that the model is actually working. And why is it working? Centenary Bank is a common man's bank. So for us, we're in the grassroots. Fine, we have grown, what? Mapera is here and what? But for us, we're what? Even when you read our mission and vision, transforming lives in a sustainable way, especially microfinance, all that is related to financial inclusion. So the agent banking strategy is actually helping us to reach those people, to transact, and even lend. Because again, those same agents, they are able to initiate what you'd call a loan lead. If someone is interested in getting a loan, they start the process. Of course, they can't lend. They start the process through the system. We're able to tell that so-and-so needs a loan, then we garner praise. Because we also don't want a situation where the agent is standing with a customer in a photo and saying, this is the what? This is the land title, this is the security. They don't have that capacity. But for us, we support them with the technology that they book the loan leads, and then once we give the loan or we disburse the loan, we pay the agent a sizable amount of commission. And all that helps to build traffic along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, before I stop here, I invite you to move around Uganda. It is a very beautiful country. There is a lot you're going to learn. Before you go abroad, you first start around and move around and see. People are there, but services are not there. And once you move, even the ideas of business, you'll also get ideas that certain things that we are struggling to build here, you're looking for market, you're looking for different people, different players, or probably you have a lot of competition. You go to some remote play area there, and you're the only person there, and you'll make a lot of money. That is maybe a tip for Moses. Maybe you could also, yeah, so these are things that we all need to think about. So if you'd like to become an agent, those are the requirements. I'll definitely leave my contacts as well, and then we can actually invest together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This has been a very brilliant panel, right? I see people have hands up. Is it that burning? Okay. As we close the panel session, I would like that we give our panel another round of applause.